Welcome back to Dazzle Koi. Today I'm going to talk about how often you should clean your filter on your koi pond. And this has come about really because I see the question asked a lot on forums and Facebook groups, how often do you clean your filter? And I'll be honest, it frustrates me because the replies are kind of a week, once every week, 2 weeks, but more so it's the kind of the thought process behind it. It seems that the one who can say they go the longest without cleaning is the winner somehow, and it's just the whole mindset really that you clean your filters as little as possible. Somehow a sign of a good filter is one that you can get away without cleaning for 2 weeks or whatever. It just frustrates me a lot because it couldn't really be further from the truth. So I want to talk today about why I believe that, why it frustrates me, how often you should really be cleaning it and why. And at the end I'm going to give you a little thing to go away and do, a little exercise to go away and do that will kind of show you why I'm saying what I'm saying, so you can sort of see for yourself. So stick around for that. But before we go any further, I want you to ask yourself a question. I want you to ask yourself how often you clean your filter. You know, that's a fact. You know that number. Keep that in your head. And ask yourself how often you think your fish would like you to clean the filter if they had a choice. If they could decide how often the filter was cleaned, mechanically flushed, how often do you think they would say? Keep those two answers in mind. I suspect they're probably not the same number, but keep those two in mind. We'll crack on. Firstly, filtration, koi pond filtration, divided up into sort of two basic areas. You've got mechanical filtration and you've got biological filtration. Biological filtration I'm not going to talk a lot about, but what I will say now at the beginning is this. If your mechanical section of your filter or your pond, if there's a lot of waste in there, a lot of organic debris in there, your biological filtration is less efficient. So organics decomposing, oxygen, etc. I'll not go into why, but suffice to say, if your filter is dirty, your pond is dirty, your biological filtration is less efficient. So that's a fact. And that is parked. So I'm now going to look at predominantly mechanical filtration. So why do we have mechanical filtration on a pond? A lot of people believe, I think, that it's so that we can keep the water nice and clear so we can see our fish. That is a nice bonus. But the reason we have a mechanical filter is to take out the waste that your koi produce on a continual basis. Urine, feces, your koi are continually producing these things. They're continually polluting the water. We need to get them out. Now, there's no nice way of dressing this up. Apologies in advance. But imagine you had a room in your house. Imagine one of your rooms, a bedroom, a small box room, whatever. You now throw in there 10 or 12 people, family members, strangers, whatever it may be, 10 or 12 people. You lock the door, no one can leave. You have to live your life in that room. Everyone in that room, and again, apologies, they go in the toilet. Number ones, number twos, day in, day out, constantly. That is kind of what we're asking our koi to live with. So ask yourself this, I guess, how long do you think it would be in that situation before you were unhappy, before you lost your appetite, before you got ill, etc., etc. That's what we're asking our koi to deal with, because let it be, it's a fact that this is not natural. In the wild, fish like this would have tens of thousands of gallons per fish. They are free to roam, free to swim. This is not a natural environment. We're taking them out. Don't care how big your pond is. If it can be 20,000 gallons. You think you've got a big pond, and obviously you have got a big pond. Compared to nature, it is tiny. You're cramming a lot of fish, a high volume of fish, into a tiny environment. There's no way around that. That's how it is. So going back to this room analogy, that is essentially what you're asking your koi to live with. That kind of situation. They have one room, if you like. It's the bathroom, the toilet, the bedroom, the dining room, the living room, all in one. You're asking your fish basically to live in this one room where they're all going to the toilet, etc., etc. It is not pleasant, right? And so we have mechanical filtration. Okay, so we have a filter, a mechanical filter, and it's a very common misconception that the bottom of the pond's clean, all the waste sat in the filter's done its job, it's took out the waste, great, job done, my fish are happy. Again, could not be further from the truth. So to make the point, I want you to imagine your koi produce feces almost continually, day in, day out. Imagine that just dropped to the bottom of the pond, settled on the bottom of the pond. Very quickly you would get a layer of feces built up on the bottom of the pond, getting thicker and thicker and thicker. You think that is not a good... Ignore the fact that it will harbour bacteria and you'll get bacterial issues at some point. Just purely from a feces sitting on the bottom of the pond where your fish are living, breathing, taking in water, eating. It's not a pleasant situation. Now, when this is a statement, I'll make a statement now that may or may not, probably will sound ridiculous to you, and I will qualify it. When you leave that waste on the bottom of the pond for a week, that's bad. When you filter that waste out instead, so the bottom of your pond is spotless, and that waste sits in your filter for a week, waiting to be cleaned out, I would argue that is worse. Okay, what you've done there is worse than if you left it on the bottom of the pond. And the reason being, waste in your filter is still in the pond. Waste in your pipes underneath, waste on its way back to the pond, waste in the filter, waste in the pond. It's the same volume of water. It's exactly the same. So if it's sat in your filter, it's still in the pond with your fish. The reason I would argue it's worse is because what you've effectively done is you've gathered it all together, crammed it all together in a concentrated volume, and then you have forced water through it, liquidizing it all, mulching it all up, collecting particles of feces, let's be honest, all the time, pumping it back to the pond where your fish are. So instead of sitting on the bottom kind of undisturbed, it's now collected together in a concentrated lump, and you're forcing water through it under pressure to collect it and pushed it back to your pond continuously. So that's why I say not having any mechanical filtration at all for a week, leaving it to sit on the bottom of the pond, is better than having the best mechanical filter in the world and leaving it uncleaned for a week. Okay, just want to say as well, drum filters obviously take the waste out of the water at source. They're flushed on a very regular basis, so they don't particularly apply to this. Sieves, a lesser extent they do, because the waste falls down the screen, collects at the bottom, the water is still passing over it, passing through it, it's been liquidized, it's been mashed up and pumped back to your pond. To a lesser extent than other filters, sieves, but still a problem. So the filters I'm talking about, predominantly black box filters, pressure filters, multi-bay filters, homemade barrel filters, Nexus, Easy Pod, bead filters, bubble bead filters, the general all-in-one filters that we all use, with the exception of drum owners. All those filters are guilty of this. So what I'm saying basically is, when you collect the waste in your filter, as far as your fish are concerned, absolutely nothing has changed. The waste has not gone anywhere. It might as well be sat in the corner of the pond with them. And I can't prove, I have no facts, but logic says to me it's probably actually even worse sat in your filter than if it was sat on the bottom of the pond. Okay, so given all that, I would say to you now, ask yourself again, how often, if they had the choice, do you think your koi would like the filter to be cleaned, to be flushed of mechanical waste? And I suspect that is now a different answer to before, and different, you know, even further away from the other number of how often you actually do it. Right, I'm not suggesting for a second I'm perfect, but I flush my filter every day, once a day. And when the question's asked on the forums, how often do you clean your filter? I am proud to say once a day. And I get, oh, you must, pod must be crap then. Your setup must be crap then, because I only have to do mine once a week. I don't clean it once a day because that's how often I have to do it. I clean it once a day because that's how often I want to do it. I want to do that for my fish, for their benefit. And that is not nearly enough. If I could clean my filter every hour, every half an hour, I would do it, but it's not practical, it's not possible. So I have to settle for only doing my filter once a day. And as I say, I'm proud to say that I do that. Now, I said earlier I'll sort of give you something I'd like you to go away and try. After you watch the video, first thing, do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Secondly, go away and clean your filter. Now, I hear people say, oh, you know, pod, Nexus, multi-bait, whatever, you've got to flush it, you've got to clean it, you've got to hose it, you've got to poke sticks in. If you do it regularly enough, you don't need to do those things. The only reason you need to do those things is because you're not doing it regularly enough. So go away from here, clean your filter. If it's a mess, if it's not been done for a week or whatever, and it's a mess, give it a good clean. Then every night after work, every morning before work, whatever works for you, once a day, flush that filter. Now, don't go to town on it. Clean it, flush it how it was intended. So in the case of my pod, turn off the water, put the tube in, open the air, I bubble it for a minute at most, 1 minute. Empty it out, fill it back up, turn on the pump, done. I do that every day, and that's, if you do it every day, that is all you need to do. You don't need to get involved with brushes, with hoses, getting your hands dirty, because it will stay and it will clean up and stay clean. I do my pod and my Tempest together 3 or 4 minutes max. I've done a video on it, I can't remember the time, it's not, probably 4 minutes every night when I'm out feeding the fish. Go away, do that, do it for a week, watch what effect it has on your fish. So these fish have been fed literally before I sat down. They're hungry again. That fish has just bit my finger. The young fish, they're not tame. I hear people say, oh, I want to tame my fish, to be hand tamed, to feed out my hand. Fish are not, they're not, you can't domesticate koi. They're not tame. The reason they'll eat out your hand, the reason that fish has just bit my finger, is because it's hungry. It's hungry, and it's more hungry enough that it ignores its natural inbuilt fear of humans. Actually, that actually hurt that. Inbuilt fear of humans is overcome because it is so hungry. And the reason it's so hungry is because it's not swimming around, breathing, drinking its own feces. I clean my filter every day. The water is clean. And what I'm saying to you is, you will see this change in your fish. That the little chag, it's a tiny baby chag. It goes in here, it eats out your hand. And again, it's not tame. It did it from day one. It's just hungry. Its appetite, its well-being is off the chart. You will see this in your fish. They will eat more, they'll be more active, they'll come up, they'll take food out your hand. You will see an improvement in the general well-being. So, turned into a bit of a rant, as I knew it would, because I do feel very passionately about it. Please just do give it a go. Every night for a week, it's not a lot to ask. And see what you see. Come back, give me some comments about what you find. if you see what I've said you'll see, or not, obviously, come back, let me know how you get on. But just do that one thing, just give it a go. I promise you will see a benefit, and you will understand where I'm coming from in terms of how often you should be cleaning your filter. And hopefully next time someone asks the question, how often you clean your filter, I'll see people sort of saying as often as I can, or every day, or you know, rather than I only have to do mine every 2 weeks. So yeah, kind of a mindset change, I guess. As always, if the video was useful to you, please do subscribe. Do have a look at the other videos on the channel, and do leave a comment, good, bad, indifferent. Leave me a comment. I like to read them all, I answer them all. But yeah, give it a go. Thank you for watching, as always, and I'll look after yourself. I'll see you in the next video.